Today we're going to be modeling a bishop, as you may have heard, and so we're going to basically be doing the exact same process as what we used to make that pawn. However, we'll be looking at a new modifier, the Boolean modifier, in order to create the mitre slit. So this is kind of an example here. You can see there's this little cutout bit which you could put the credit card in if you need to, um, or hold a business card or something. But yeah, essentially this is what signifies this piece as being different from a pawn or other pieces. It's quite sort of significant to this piece, so we'll be modeling ours having one of these. Um, and the Boolean modifier is going to be the best way of doing that. So I'm going to just start by deleting everything in Blender, and I'm going to, yeah, exactly. Well, I'm actually going to be using the Shift A, Mesh, Single Vert, Add Single Vert. So just starting with a single vertice in space, and I'm going to jump into a side view, maybe a front view actually, pushing one. Okay, so just taking a quick photo of this, making sure it's on the screen. There we go. Pictures folder under, I think, camera roll. Easiest way. Did that work? Oh, I need to be in object mode. Okay. So if you're in object mode, you should be able to just drag that picture straight in like this. And now I have my bishop right in the center of my scene. So I just push G to move that to where it needs to be. I can also push S if I want to scale it down for whatever reason, or you can just leave it whatever scale it comes in at. No biggie. But here we go. Got my reference. I can select my single vert over here in the outliner. So I've selected my single vert, and I'm pushing tab to jump into edit mode on that. Okay, now selecting that vert, I can push E to create a new vertice. I'm extruding that one away from the original one, and pushing X to lock it to this X axis, so it's only moving along. Cool, I'll just pull it down to where I know the ground is, somewhere like this, and just pushing E once again, moving it up like so. And just continuing to push E, moving along, making the shape of this bishop. So this isn't anything new. You guys did this for the pawn. Simple process, nicely blocking out the overall shape of this bishop. And then once I get to the top, I do want this vertice to be perfectly aligned with the center line. But just in order to show you guys how not to do it, I'm going to leave it where it is for now, and you'll see why in a step that comes on from this one. Okay, so I'm purposefully leaving this shape open. All right, fantastic. So we have the outline of our bishop on just one half. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply a modifier. So we're going to start with the screw modifier. If you jump over to the spanner here, this is the modifiers panel, and we can click add modifier and just start typing SCRE, and here it is, generate screw. So let's apply that modifier, and you can see that instantly we have a 3D model of our bishop. Nice and quick. Few things we need to change though. So I will once again mention that at the very top here, I do have an opening. So this is currently not a closed shape. Yep, and we would do that in order to fix the problem, or we could move the middle point to being directly on the center line. I am actually going to leave it like this for now, just so that when I demonstrate my Booleans, you'll see what not to do, okay? Because open shapes like this, they don't Boolean correctly. Uh, yes. Okay, so I will show you how to do it for now, and then I'll revert to this. So I'm going back into my front view, hitting Alt Z to go into X-ray mode, and then I'm going to take this top point, and there's a couple of ways we could do this. This time I'm just going to go snap. So there's this little magnet up the top here, snap, and I'm going to snap to grid. And then if I push G, you can see it's going to snap to these little grid increment points. Nice, easy way. I think last time or in the video, I showed you guys using the 3D cursor and scaling it flat, but Lots of different ways to do it. Yeah, so I turned on the magnet and then I snapped to grid as an option there. Cool. So I like to, at this point, just adjust the shape. You can see I've actually got it quite skinny through the middle here, as opposed to if we look at my reference, it's actually a bit wider. So this often happens just because when I drew it, it wasn't actually perfectly symmetrical. So what I'll do is just adjust my reference first of all, just moving that reference around a little bit, trying to get it a little bit more centered. And I can even rotate it if I need to. But yeah, even then, it's still not going to be perfect. So the reference has been adjusted. I think what I'll do is I'll just move this point here a little bit to give it that width that I'm after. And just moving some of these other points as well. So something like that for now. And we can also go in and add new points. So hitting Control R allows us to add a new point anywhere we want. And I can use that to give this shape a little bit more curvature. But something like this is working pretty good for now. Um, the next step, I'm going to add a weld modifier. So generate weld, and finally a generate subdivision surface modifier. And this will give my shape a whole lot of smoothness. It's basically taking each of the faces and splitting it in half and then smoothing them. I'm going to select where it says levels viewport. I'm going to change this number from 1 to 3 to make it really smooth. I wouldn't suggest going higher than 3. It will make your computer crawl. Um, and I think that's where we will end it for now. I'm just going to revert that top vertice change just so that I can demonstrate what not to do later down the track. Cool. So now that I've added my subdivision surface, you can see that I've actually got this shape has started to round out a lot, and maybe in places where I don't want it to be. So like this part here, I actually want it to be a sharp corner. Same with here. The easiest way to go about that is to add some extra vertices where I want them. So let's go in here and we can hit Control R in edit mode to just drop in another point. If I hit Shift V, I can slide that new vertice along the existing edge. So if I bring it nice and close to this one down at the corner, you can see it gets nice and sharp. So just again, pushing Control R to add a new vertice and then Shift V to move the vertice closer to an existing corner. Cool. I do want to mention there is other ways we can do this, okay? We could actually use a crease instead. So what we can do, I'll actually use a crease for this part here and show the difference, okay? So if I turn off my X-ray mode for a second, I can actually come in and find a vertice like this one. I'm not sure if this will work while yeah, no, it's not going to work. So in order for my creases to work, I'd need to actually apply all of these modifiers. And as we discussed with the non-destructive workflow thing, that is an option, but it'll be hard to come back to this point where it's very easily editable once I've done that, okay? So I think for now, we'll just stick to the Control R method. So Control R, adding a new vertice, and then Shift V to drag it along and put it where we want it. We can look at creases when we look at the rook next week. All right. One thing I will point out, this large structure I've created here, this almost rectangular shape, that one's not going to print so nice, right? Like that's going to require that I use supports when I print it. So one easy way to fix that is I can just take this entire area here and push R45, or actually in this case it's R negative 45. So a 45-degree angle like this will print nicely. You could also just, manually rotate it to something like this, and that will be fine. Um, it won't need supports. So as long as it's somewhere between 30 degrees and 45 degrees, it should be fine. I don't need to do the same on the top side. It's only these overhanging parts that require it. So this part here as well, just moving it down a little until it's got that 45-degree to 30-degree angle. Oh, what's going on here? Cool. Excellent. So now that we have our shape created, um, let's jump into the side view again, and I'm just looking at this little notch that I've got here, right? So I want to create something that looks like this. Uh, the easiest way is probably just going to be creating a cube. So I'm in object mode at the moment. I'm going to hit Shift A, Mesh, Cube. So I guess Evan was right. We did delete the original cube, and now we have created a cube. So here we go. Let's move this cube up to where we want it, something like this. Make it nice and small. So I'm just pushing S to scale it down. I'm going to rotate it, so R to rotate. I just want it to be sort of the same as this slit, yeah. So we'll just make it a little bit taller as well. So S and Z. I actually realized now that rotating it was probably the wrong idea. If I zero out its rotations, it helps me to get it the right thickness first before I rotate it into position. So let's go something like this. Now I can rotate it, and that should be pretty good. Turning off X-ray mode now, I'm just looking around in 3D view. I obviously want this to be a bit wider, so we'll go S and Y and just make it something like that. Okay, cool. Awesome. So how to apply this modifier? If we go back onto the modifier stack that we've got for this bishop already, you can see we've got screw. I can click on these little arrows to just minimize these. It's getting a bit messy otherwise. Screw, weld, and subdivision. After the subdivision, I'm going to add a new modifier, the Boolean modifier. Now, there's a lot you can do with this. It's got three different modes: intersect, union, and difference. We'll be looking at the difference mode for this one, which will essentially take a shape and just cut it away from the existing shape. So make sure yours is set to difference. We can click on the eyedropper to choose the object, and then we'll just click on this cube. And that's exactly what I wanted to show. So it looks like it's worked. If I hit H to hide that cube, you can see it's not quite right. So you can see that it's kind of got a hole through the entire thing. And the reason for that is that hole at the top here, making this making this an open shape. So um, if I was to fix that problem, like just moving this vertice, just grabbing that and moving that to the center, like this. Um, okay, so I've got that nice and closed now. And you can see that jumping back into object mode now, this is now working as I hoped it would. So that's a nice closed surface, which allows me to use this Boolean properly. So I'm going to demonstrate now how to take this nice simple bishop and create some more complex shapes. I want to give it sort of a spiraling base. And the way we'll go about that is just using some more of those Booleans actually. So I want to create a Boolean shape that basically just takes a big notch out of the center of this object. Uh, let's see, maybe we can just go with a cylinder. I'll shrink this down and rotate it 90 degrees on X. So that was RX 90. Going to move it up a little, not that far, turn off snapping. Make it a bit smaller. Cool. Maybe we'll make it thinner in this dimension, something like that. So this isn't going to be super pretty. This is just sort of an example. I can take something like this shape here, and I can add another boolean. A hole straight through it, that's right. Okay, so something like that. I can do the same coming from the other side. So maybe we can just duplicate this. Shift D to duplicate. RZ90. So it's coming from this angle as well. And I'll just create a new boolean for that one. Generate boolean. Grab that one as well. Let's see if that worked. Yeah, sweet. So you can see that's taken out a big chunk out of the center. It might be getting a little bit thin through this part here, but we're just going to go with it. The final bit is I'll add a new modifier. We're going to go for a deform modifier this time. So we'll go deform, simple deform, and you can see it's already doing some pretty strange stuff. This is I think it's currently set to twist, but it's twisting on the X axis, so it's giving us this weird little sine wave appearing at the bottom. If I change this to the Z axis instead, I can change the angle, and you can see it will start to twist it around. I think if I go for something like 270 degrees, that should look pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm happy with that. You can see it's twisting at the top as well. I could make it so it doesn't work on that part, so we can go to restrictions and limit it so it's only twisting up to like, let's go 0.5. So it's only going to twist halfway up the model. So somewhere like there. Maybe we'll go 0.6 just so it goes a little bit past there. Yeah, that looks pretty sweet. So you can imagine that using a combination of these sorts of modifiers, I can achieve some pretty interesting shapes, such as the ones that I think I showed you guys earlier, the chess set I made. Awesome.